champagne has long been popped and the parades roll down Los Angeles streets to the glory of a World Series champion. But the time for celebration's over. The offseason is a time for philosophy shifts and arsenal building. But for 18 teams, they've been out of baseball for almost 2 months now. Their ambitions ended with the regular season, and there are a variety of reasons for it. Some brutal disappointments, some painful rebuilds, and the White Sox. Good Lord, the White Sox. I give them some tremendous props. I talk about how I might be wrong about the Mid-Sox and their chances for the future. A strong first half with playoff ambitions merely unfold to reveal a tremendously mid-franchise. Sometimes you have to consider how team pitching turned into Italian chefs, perfecting the art of the meatball and the cookie. Their arms became overcooked linguine. Starters becoming completely unreliable and their bullpen blowing more saves than any team not named the White Sox. Unless their hitters were turning into 2018 Mookie Betts, they weren't overcoming this. And that's considering if Devers wasn't knocked out with injury for the home stretch. But the good news is that the future looks bright. A young core is emerging in the batter's box. Abreu, Rafaela, Hamilton, Duran when he isn't on a 2009 Call of Duty server. More on the way. There's a glimmer of hope in the barrage of pitching woes. But how do they fix those? Use Masataka Yoshida as a token sacrifice? They need to do something, because you can't trot out a shriveled Dick Mountain and expect to win anything. Sometimes I ponder if Stuart Sternberg burned a shrine to a traditional baseball god in the past. There's no other explanation as to how everything this team has touched suffers horrible misfortune. The pitchers falling one by one to the knife and the face of their franchise only appearing on mugshots. We were wondering when the other pin was going to drop on the team, and it slowly did throughout the season. To be quite honest, the fact that they were even around 500 is a testament to their will and determination. A good few teams would have outright imploded, especially after most players worth a damn were shipped off at the deadline. That would probably explain why they lacked home run power and struck out a ton. A lot like the Rays themselves when push comes to shove. Franchise equivalent of Job must always have ruination. Shit on the Trop all you want, but at least it was a field you could play in. Until Hurricane Milton, blowing away the roof like any playoff ambitions in 2024. And it won't be close to ready for the start of next year. And now their stadium deal in St. Pete's in flux because of it. So, where's their temporary base of operations? They aren't just gonna play on the Yankee spring training field, are they? In poetic irony, they are. Look on the bright side, Tampa. No goddamn bridge traffic to deal with? Reason why I'm infuriated with the Blue Jays isn't because of how they horrifically underachieved this year. It's because it felt so damn predictable with how they approached 2024. Suffer a humiliating loss in the playoffs? That's fine. Do absolutely nothing to rectify the situation. You're telling me that a bare-bones offseason isn't enough to offset everything taking a step back? The franchise is flat-footed out the gates and can't recover? Good Lord, an 8-year-old could have used the power of foresight to predict this. The only player hitting worth his weight was Vlad Jr. Everyone else struggled or regressed like Springer or fell into a chasm of hell like Bichette. Team pitching took a massive step back. Bottom 10 unit featuring injuries, regression, and Jordan Romano's arm turning into grated Parmesan. At least you can say Ross Atkins saved his ass with his namesake diet at the deadline getting quality results. Why the hell is Schneider still the head skipper? He's been getting beaten over the head with his own tactics ever since he took the job. Trust this team, even with the talent they have? Good luck with that regime at the helm. What more is there to say? 121 losses. That is all. The worst in Major League history, but apparently 122 losses was a bridge too far. Thus, they don't have the worst losing percentage in history. That title goes to Jerry Reinsdorf and the crown of shit on his head. Flies surround it like bad contracts and shedding payroll for next year. Will Venable will be the man leading a complete tank less than a decade after a complete tank. People thought they'd be a World Series contender 3 years ago. Their World Series is Jerry potentially selling the team. Fans rejoice. Might be in Nashville, but still rejoice. Celebrate this terrible year with a rancid campfire milkshake. I was starting to warm up to Minnesota, you know that? There were days where I'd look at their talent and say, I might be going too hard on them. Finally turning the corner. They had their greatest franchise moment in an age. The AL Central is ripe for the taking. Who's claiming it? Fucking Cleveland? Yes, in fact. After one of the more epic collapses in recent memory. When you put together a broken core that's constantly in for repairs, a hollowed-out starting rotation, and a batting core fighting an awful slump in Alex Kirilloff's retirement, the concoction is poison and it kills you. This implosion was months in the making. The Pohlats decided to pull the plug and slash payroll before the year. And it continued by only acquiring an expired air freshener at the deadline. A failed team masked by being White Sox, A's, Mariners, and Angels merchants. They were almost 20 games under 500 against the rest. Sorry, Minnesota, we can't afford Gruel. You have to make up for the RSN deal lapsing somehow. It's cowardly. Teams that take half measures in an effort to win don't do so at all. The Tigers laugh in their faces. Hours after Cat became a Nick. Thad Levine was hanged outside of Target Field, but Rocco Baldelli's still here to the chagrin of the fanbase. The Pohlads realize the gravy train's running out and might sell the team. Minnesota, you got your wish. This might be for the best, but it doesn't solve this calamity at all. Anyone want to buy the teas with me? That Artie Moreno vid I did a few years ago hasn't aged well. I'd argue that I didn't go far enough with it. Last year's incredibly foolish all-in cratering has drawbacks. This season was it. Thrown into the air and smacked for a home run like most of their pitching staff. The Angels have thrown endless draft and monetary resources on fixing it, and nothing has worked. Hell, Robert Stevenson had TJ surgery before the season even began. At least Ben Joyce can hurl 105. Is he able to be cloned? Might solve their starting rotation woes. Could it perhaps fix their inability to do much of anything at the deadline? They can still win, damn it! Whenever Shanuel doesn't oversleep every damn day game. Luis Rengifo had the most value he's ever had, and the reward is a season-ending injury a week after the deadline. I cannot put into words how pathetic LA's Klingeron was. They wanted a Dusty Baker, but failed to realize that the Astros had gobs of talent. Ron Washington needed to part the Red Sea to do anything. A team so bad they set their own franchise record for losses, while being swept by the fucking White Sox. That might be more pathetic than Southside. Oh, don't worry about all that. You could just pretend to celebrate Shohei's World Series by proxy. Did you see him play real baseball for once? Now imagine if Mike Trout could get that opportunity. If the gods ever decide to stop tormenting him with injuries, that is. The end of the road. It's a bittersweet feeling. The memories and experiences of past glories will forever live on, but the spirit has been stabbed in the back repeatedly by a cartoonishly evil owner. One merely interested in personal vanity and a cheap cash-in once his team becomes a tourist trap in Las Vegas like the Raiders. The team on the field was never the concern. They're still in a rebuild. Brent Rooker and Mason Miller were outstanding pieces, and Butler and Langoliers had their moments, but who cares about that when they're going to be gone in a flash? The last gasp of Oakland. Their third team uprooted in less than a decade. The only drums that will beat are in mourning as they bury a franchise's core identity. As they spend an indefinite future in the limbo known as hottest balls in the summer Sacramento, an identity as generic as this must be embraced. You've heard of the Washington football team and the Utah Hockey Club? Meet baseball's answer in the Athletics. Your move, NBA. You see what happens when you reach for that illustrious 54% goal? You don't get there at all. I warned you about this last year, Mariners, but you didn't listen. Look at it this way. The early going was a breeze. There were red flags aplenty, but Seattle had a 10-game lead in the AL West. Everyone else was imploding. All they had to do was maintain a modest pace, and it was theirs. I can't even call it a punch in the dick since that fell off a while ago. Or maybe you did, but the bats whiffing at everything misconstrued the message. It was a force rivaling the deadly foes known as the White Sox. They tried to solve the problem with Justin Turner and Arozarena. They didn't help. Their best hitter was Victor fucking Robles. This offense put to shame the pitching stalwarts. That was a World Series caliber staff, an elite bullpen led by one of the best closers in baseball. All 5 starters being upper crust, over half their starts being of quality, and they still didn't make it. A last-second shuffling of some deck chairs happened, and Scott Service was served up like a Robbie Ray pitch to Yordan, but it was well too late. The Mariners end up as the eternal bridesmaid yet again. Playoff glory of a few seasons ago is fleeting as the glorious arms wasting away. At this point, you just hope guys like J-Rod find their mojo again, or else the punishment is the standard. Second fiddle. The World Series hangover is something that has been studied for generations. Finally reaching the apex leads to challenges, and some crumble under the pressure. The Rangers, they took it to a whole new level. 2024 was a swift kick in the ass. Or maybe they missed the kick like the bats miss baseballs. There was some serious regression in the lineup from guys not named Corey Seager. Evan Carter had less of a sophomore slump and more a nightmare. Falling off fast and never being able to get back up. They made a deal with the devil for that ring, and the cost was in their pitching staff. Scherzer was hobbled for most of the year. Grom came back, but it was way too late to fix. Jack Leiter's debut was a highly touted disaster. Kumar Rocker's debut went a little better. Kirby Yates' revival could only do so much, and Texas became one of the bigger disappointments of the season. There is some good news in all this. Texas, with their talent and prospects in the system, have a chance at a quick bounce back. Sometimes you just need a really bad year to get the kinks out. Drink your fluids and get your nutrients in to get over the hangover and kick some ass again. If not, then you can just throw more money around per tradition. Remember when a bunch of us were saying that the Marlins were due to take a step back? Last year was a massive fluke, losing two of their best starters for 2024 with the dreaded Tommy John. Even we're shocked by what happened here. The Marlins floundered so hard they were a succulent entree within the first 2 weeks of the season, served with a wedge of lemon. None of this was going to their fans. The children were starving all year. Terrible, 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 and even more terrible. The infamous hitting core couldn't hit much of anything, to no one's surprise. Team pitching couldn't bail them out, to our surprise. To be fair, not really a surprise when everyone worth a damn is injured to hell and back. What you get is a team that's embracing an old standard. In the abyss of Miami, there is only one thing being launched. Nukes. Nukes as far as the eye can see. Everything not nailed down to the ground vaporized in a barrage of trades and terminations. Jazz is now outlawed in Miami. So are many other players for what they could get in a fire sale. Skip Schumacher's being ushered out to the greener pastures of unemployment. Most of his entourage is being summarily dispatched to a landfill. Pitching coaches, team executives, travel secretaries, even the damn bat boys and ball girls weren't spared. For the 5th time in franchise history, they're blowing it up due to shitty ownership. The new man in charge is former Dodgers first base coach Clayton McCullough, someone willing to work for Chicken Scratch and Dave & Buster's gift cards. This organization is such a fucking joke, I swear to God. Nobody ever said rebuilds were easy. You guys had to deal with such a deep tank 15 years ago, but it doesn't make it any less painful. The Nationals are still in a limbo of prospects and payroll juggling. These dark times may lead to a brighter tomorrow. Such as the debuts of James Wood and Dylan Cruz, the young core is starting to emerge into something sustainable. Brady House is going to be on the way. Robert Hassel III might not stagnate next year. The team showed their baby faces by going 5-12 in extra innings and a grimacing 2-11 against the Mets. Like C.J. Abrams, out gambling until 8 in the morning on a game day only to show up groggy and out of sorts. That's why he got dumped to the minors. No one is above the law, not even the supposed core. But this truly is the end of an era. A great player of a time long past has officially played his last game in Washington. Patrick Corbin. Steven Strasburg finally retired earlier this year too, so there's that. Wait, they owe Strasburg $100 million over the next 3 years and it counts as retained payroll? Wasn't this team supposed to be good this year? Bringing in an experienced manager with spending in the rotation and Cody Bellinger's back? Why the hell did they struggle so much? It was a colossal disappointment, especially considering those high-profile hitters to begin with. The best bat for half the year was Michael Busch. No Cubbies hit over 30 homers in a season this decade. There's a power outage on the north side. Craig Counsell brought his Billy Martin mentality and playoff failures with him. Cubs fans can take solace in the fact Imanaga looks like an ace. Taillon was a great second fiddle despite being an impending free agent. But the rest of the starting ensemble played a sour tune. Kyle Hendricks and his ERA just under 6 sounded like a middle school recital of Through the Fire and Flames. And let's not talk about their bullpen. Seriously, Hector fucking Neris is your closer? What the hell is wrong with you? It's another crossroads offseason. You dip into the Japanese waters again for a Sasaki? Or will the brass trust their own farm that is an upcoming harvest? This feels like the kind of apex the Yankees faced in the early to mid-90s. Will the Cubs gamble? Anything's got to be better than what Isak Paredes brought with him post-trade. This team was annoyingly inconsistent. No, I don't have a clue as to what the hell the Reds are on any given day. One moment, they're Ellie De La Cruz, crushing balls 500 feet, dazzling in the field and striking out fools at will. The very next, they're Ellie De La Cruz, whiffing on off-speed pitches 10 feet out of the zone and giving up 10 runs at will. When I say everything was erratic, I mean everything. Hitting, starting rotation, bullpen. Even in fucking day games, they were a mess. Flashes of brilliance followed by heart attacks delivered by Alexis Diaz and a batting course suspended Noel V. Marte style. This was supposed to be a year of progress. All they got was stagnation. David Bell has always been a clown. I'm honestly surprised he didn't get fired a few years ago, but he's taking the team nowhere, so the axe he gets. In return for this, and a sacrifice of what was once Charlie Hustle, the Reds go deep for their next manager. Tito? Don't get me wrong, I love the hire, but I'm surprised Francona took a trip down 71. Since he's banking on this being the next Bochy. But with his health issues, I'm fearing he'll only be a Ron Garden hire. Will it work? I don't know, but in the words of an asshole, where you gonna go? There's a reason why I gave up on this team a while ago. No matter how I try to get back into them and be wowed by how fucking incredible Paul Skeens is, the Pirates go back to their limp-dicked dog shit ways yet again. The early part of the year was inconsistency abound. Even then, they were in the mix until August. Oh, fucking August. Another goddamn collapse. Always with the collapses. Jesus fuck, it's like time's a circle. Nobody's developing in the hitting core. Henry Davis and Jack Sawinski have been all but ruined. Ke'Bryan Hayes is bat deflated in real time. O'Neal Cruz is Pittsburgh's answer to Ellie. Ridiculously frustrating, then moved to center field due to constant fielding fuck-ups. There was a reason why Brian Delacruz was the one guy I didn't want at the deadline. He's fucking shit. Their revelations were Rowdy Tellez getting cut before a bonus was due, 37-year-old Kutch, and Joey Bart. That's horrifying. About as bad as the supposedly elite bullpen we were gaslit about. The arms were by hitters as well. David Bednar devolved into allegations of tipping and an ERA of over 11. In 2 separate months. Fucking disastrous. Andy Haynes will no longer be here to coach these hitters to ruin, but why are Shilton and Neil Huntington 2.0 still here? They've stalled out like the team has. As long as the Pirates are the Pirates, there's no reason to have hope. Skeens is going to be traded for Magic Beans in a few years, and we'll be talking about the same shit in a decade too. You're going to sit here and tell me I'm being melodramatic. It can always get worse for them. You cannot have a team at all. You're right. That might happen when the stadium lease expires in 2030. Behold the Pittsburgh Steelers of baseball. Stubbornly being dragged into the modern game kicking and screaming. That or they're amputating their own legs in the process. No need to fear, the Cardinals finished above 500 again. It means absolutely nothing other than being mid, but they have things. Kinda. Their pitching rotation isn't bad. They have a piece or two in the batter's box. Those not being Goldie and Arenado. One's a free agent and the other's being actively shopped around. This one might take you paying a team $50 million to trade him. Fans are reacting by not going to games. I've heard stories of some trying to give away 2 tickets but were held at gunpoint and forced to take 6 more of them. The winds of change may be howling faster than they expect. More than a few birdies are singing a song of the DeWitts potentially selling the team. And an organizational overhaul is taking place. John Mozeliak's seat's being forced upstairs to a toothless role for his actions as double agent for the Rays. Instead, the flowers of Chaim bloom in the springtime of hope. His time in Boston was mixed, but he could be what St. Louis needs to move forward. Only time will tell. Maybe then we'll find out Ole Marmol is a cockroach. He won't get fired. Let me take you back to the final day of the baseball season. 2 games would decide the fate of the D-backs and their postseason ambitions. Braves and the Mets locking horns with a 3-way dead heat. If one team swept both games, they backdoor in Steelers style. Guess what happened? They both chose to take the slices of pie. Arizona was left out in the cold. So what the hell caused this? Their hitting was absolutely fantastic, scoring the 2nd most runs in team history. Their fielding was some of the best in the league. Veteran acquisitions filling in much-needed roles, especially Josh Bell once Christian Walker went down. Even for Corbin Carroll's sophomore slump, it's inexcusable that they didn't make it. Until you get to the pitching. They happen to be the hottest mess this side of Glendale. Outside of Zach Gallen, they were either hobbled beyond repair, straight up terrible, or should never see the light of day. It is no longer Paul Sewell's time to pitch. For it's 6 past him. And then you get to the hand grenade thrown in the dugout. Jordan Montgomery was supposed to be the piece that got them over the top. A key cog in the Rangers championship rotation. A man who shed Scott Boras and happened to shed his talent in the process. The only thing over the top were balls into the bleachers in a nightmare season. Oh, poor Ken Kendrick. He just had to meddle in team affairs a bit too much and force them to sign Jordan. We should feel bad because he does. Publicly shitting on him for Ken's own actions. He'll be punished by Monty opting into his player option. But what happens from here? Arizona's losing out in around $75 million a year without the RSN deal. Tensions rising like their demands for renovations irking local officials. The county doesn't want to pay for them. Chase Field's lacking air conditioning. Their lease expires in 2027. If they don't play ball, Salt Lake City or Portland will. In the great stadium grift, the only winner is the team. This team exists? I'm supposed to do a recap of the Rockies? Or baseball's answer to the Charlotte fucking Hornets? If they try to throw anything at me in argument, it's gonna be smack to kingdom come. A Rockies team having terrible pitching and being god-awful on the road. How unbelievably shocking. They hide under this thinly veiled innocent mom-and-pop organization when Monfort merely embraces the worst aspects of them. Why is Bud Black still here again? Is it because no one notices? Everyone's too busy laughing at them for that terrible Chris Bryant deal. It's like most of us were saying from day one. When the highlights are Todd Helton going to Cooperstown and Cal Quantrill taunting Reese McGuire about his car incident, it was a bland year. But this is a time to distract people from irrelevance. Charlie Blackmon's career has been successfully squandered to the greener pastures. For his years of loyal service, Colorado rewards him well by pulling him from his final Game 1 plate appearance away from a $500,000 bonus. Hey, if they have to throw another $50 million at someone to take on that Chris Bryant contract, that's gonna come in handy. Keep the Bruce pouring at Coors. It's the only way to tolerate this team. So, what the hell are they doing? Don't ask the Giants for directions. They haven't had one since the mid-2010s. Endless spending in free agency to recapture a fluke has only resulted in mediocrity. At best. The rest are just dead. Robbie Ray, you land on the 60-day IL within a month of pen-hitting paper. Jung-Hoo Lee battled the injury demons early on too. Matt Chapman was elite though. Rest of the team not so much. And he has been extended long-term, but it doesn't solve the litany of issues surrounding the team. Did they get lost at the deadline or just throw shit around pretending it would work? Trading Soler just to keep Snell and acquire Mark Canha? Zaidi Maps is malfunctioning, and his reign has been mostly fruitless. The time's come to uninstall Farhan from your servers. From stage right comes Buster Posey, as new teams are. Before you say anything, he did negotiate the deal with Chapman. Can he get a new one done with Blake Snell? You better hope so. Otherwise, it's trusting a bottom 10 offense, no speed or depth in the lineup, and a Camilo Doval that's fallen off the damn pier. Someone get them a new GPS. They keep losing their signal in the fog.
And Lindor gets under one to center field. Harris going back, back near the wall, and it's out